Good morning. I'm so excited to be here this morning. One of my first jobs teaching was at an inner city school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Dan had just been picked up by the Cincinnati Reds. I was 22 years old, and I was really excited. I had this boundless idealism. I felt like I could change the world. Teaching was hard and a lot of work, but I loved it. One thing I found out quickly, working in the inner city neighborhood that I worked in, was that there were a lot of things that were beyond my control. For example, kids would often come to school in the bitter Minnesota winters with no coat on. Sometimes they would just have a t-shirt because that was all they had. I remember one day driving to school, passing some of my kids standing at a bus stop, and I saw them shivering in the below zero temperatures. And I thought, those are my kids. Well, thankfully, there was a group of volunteers at our school that gathered coats, and we were able to identify the students who needed them and get the coats on their backs. It was one of the first times that I had really been able to identify a need and get with a group of volunteers who could fill that need. It felt amazing. And it may seem small, but driving to school the next time, when I saw those kids standing at the bus stop with coats on, it felt really good. Maybe I couldn't change the world, but I realized then I could help make a difference. That experience and the feeling that I got from that really stuck with me. And so I came to find out later that there actually is a return, a payoff, if you will, on giving back in our communities and volunteering. I had just experienced one return on my idealism. It turns out there are many returns on idealism. Starting at a very personal level, volunteering can actually make you healthier. That's right. It is actually good for your heart. There are over 30 national studies that prove this. It's also good for your state of mind. You will live longer. So there's something healthy, even healing, about giving back to our communities. There's also something contagious, and that is what today is all about. The more that we get out there and give back in our communities, the more we'll get back ourselves, the healthier we will be, but more importantly, people around us will be motivated to also give back. I'd like you to meet somebody who is an incredible example of this. We know him as Scooter, Scott Sowle.
Thank you, Annie. Standing in front of you all is a dream come true. You know, I've never actually been in the Paramount before. And not only am I just not in the audience, but I'm up here on stage. You know, if you knew my background, you'd see that that's not very likely for me to be up here. You see, I lived on the streets for nearly 13 years in areas like Skid Row in Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, Salt Lake City, and most recently here in Seattle. This has built up over years of alcohol and drug addiction. During my time on the streets, I witnessed a huge need for shoes. In fact, I once needed a pair of work boots, and I asked a shelter for a month and just never received any. Lisa, a shelter staff member, finally told me with tears, "Scooter, you know, we get blankets, we get food, we get clothing, but we just never get shoes." You know, that stuck in my mind. So when I came here to Seattle, I connected with Seattle's Union Gospel Mission and some other organizations along with volunteers to help me out. And slowly but steadily, I began to make a difference in my life. And on a really rainy November day during this time, a guy came into the mission. He had no shoes, only socks that was stuffed with cardboard. And then he left with only flip-flops because there was no shoes to be had. Again, this really stuck in my mind, especially since around this time, I learned that 20% of medical visits by the homeless were because they were foot related. Again, this stuck in my mind. I just kept thinking about it. And meanwhile, my life was getting more and more stable, including I just recently got into my own home. So many people had helped me along the way. I knew I wanted to do something in return. So what I did, I decided I would try to do something about the issue of shoes. It was in November of 2010, and what I did is I took my bike with its trailer and a box, and I set it up in front of the Columbia Tower. There, of course, was Mother Nature with a big snowstorm on that day, and I collected 0 shoes. But I came back day after day just handing out flyers. I got very few shoes until one day, 250 shoes. At that point, I knew I was on my way. Today, Redeeming Souls, the nonprofit I founded, has distributed over 20,000 pairs of shoes through Seattle organizations. Thank you. Our biggest success so far was the Community Resource Exchange, where with the help of United Way volunteers, we were able to put over 800 pairs of shoes on men and women in only 4 hours. So I just have to say, thank you all for caring and volunteering, because it has made a difference in my life and does make a difference in many others. Thank you, Jeff.
That is an incredible story, is it not? Amazing. Thank you, Scott. The Wilson family will definitely be going through our closets and donating some shoes. If you've never been to the Community Resource Exchange, it is quite extraordinary. More than 1,500 people came to CenturyLink Field in January to get the resources and services they needed to get back on their feet, all in one place on one day. When you talk about people who have been homeless, especially for long periods of time, they'll tell you the hardest part is the isolation. They'll tell you that people stop looking them in the eye and that they begin to feel invisible. The Community Resource Exchange is a break from that. It's a chance for those people to come and have human contact. I can really relate to Scott's story about identifying a need and wanting to do something about it. Remember those kids with coats? Well, there was one in particular who caught my eye. His name was Al. He was having a lot of trouble in the classroom he was in, and so we discussed with the teachers and we decided he should come into my room. He was an amazing kid. He had the most infectious smile. But Al had a very uncertain future and a very difficult road ahead. When Dan was traded to the Seattle Mariners, we decided it was time to move and start a family of our own. And over the years, we did stay in touch with Al. In fact, we moved in 1994, June of 1994, and Al came to visit for the first time in July. Now we have 4 children of our own, and we cannot believe that our oldest, Sophia, is starting to look at colleges. We're really excited for her, but we are also nervous about what lays ahead for her after she graduates. We all know it is not an easy time to find a job, especially for young people. But it's even harder if you don't have the chance to go to college, and if you don't have the connections to help you land a job. So, we're really excited about something that's going on here in Seattle called Year Up. Year Up, with the support of United Way, is a year-long program that is helping kids get education that they need and the connections that they need through internships. Mentors and volunteers are playing a huge part in this program. It's aimed at 18 to 24-year-olds, and the staff and the participants do not call this a training program. They call it a movement. I would like you to meet a recent participant of that program, Marquez Taylor.
Hi, my name is Marquez Taylor, and I'm here to tell you my story. What you should know is that I did not plan on being here. 5 years ago, I had plans on going to college and playing D1 football, but life took another turn. I attended 9 different high schools throughout the Seattle Public School District, and gangs became an increasing influence in my life. I made some bad decisions that would devastate my college dreams and alter my future plans. With 5 months to go before graduation, I committed a crime and was sent to juvie. I got my high school diploma while in the juvenile justice system, and I still graduated on time. But I had help to get me through. My mother, right there, pushed me to get an education, and my mentor gave me the opportunity to use him as a resource. He helped me understand the difference between good and bad decisions and always pushed me to do my best. When I was released from juvie, I worked as a painter on 2nd Avenue for Urban Artworks. Have you guys ever painted a wall in a construction zone? Well, it's not so fun. You get dust in your eyes, paint on all your clothes, and you only get paid minimum wage. So Europe offices are right across the street from this construction site, and I saw young people like myself dressed professionally, and it caught my eye. I decided to ask what this Europe thing was all about. My mom and my mentor, Chris, pushed me to apply. I also have a little brother named Myson, and it's very important to me that I'm a role model for him. Europe seemed like a good way to be that role model. Europe staff welcomed me and my colleagues, and we began our professional journeys. Starting Europe, things weren't easy. I had a hard time code switching and fitting into a professional environment. I needed to step it up and focus on the positive. I faced the world with the felony on my back and with the same mindset that I will not be accepted. I had to face the music. There's a professional conduct system, and I was down to 5 points. And once you get down to 0, then you fire yourself. And honestly, I wasn't any motivated to try any harder. Then 2 things happened. A friend and colleague in Europe challenged me to get with the program or to simply leave. She told me how hard the other students were working, how hard the instructors were working to teach us the material, and how since this is a nonprofit, stop wasting their money. This was a big wake-up call. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, and it's just part of being a professional. The other thing that happened was that my stepdad passed away. He was the only father figure I ever had, and it made me realize the responsibility I have to take care of my mom and my little brother. Now that my little brother's father has passed away, it is up to me to show him how a man should act in this world. I believe that is the heart of a mentor. To want someone else's life to be better than your life was, not by force, but by love. I had to focus. I improved my habits and took on the role of a professional. I am now in my internship at PopCap Games as a help desk analyst. They're the people behind super popular online games like Bejeweled, Zoom, Blitz. I take my job seriously, and I want to leave a legacy here so other interns can have the same learning experience that I'm having. I earned this internship. I am now a mentor for my little brother, and I'm showing him every day what it means to be a professional. The staff at Europe believes in me, and I now believe in myself. When I graduate from Europe in August, I would like to continue working at PopCap Games. I would also like to continue my education and get my bachelor's in psychology. I feel like I'm on course. I am the change I see in my community, and I want to help others change their lives too. I want to leave a legacy. Thank you for listening.
Congratulations, Marquez. You are an incredible role model for my children, and I love seeing people like you who are motivated to make those hard choices to do the right thing and influence the people around you who care about you. You are going to have a very bright future, and I can't help but think about my Al. And Al visited us every summer after we moved out to Seattle, and he really became a part of our family. When he turned 18, he had made some bad choices in Minnesota, so we invited him to move out to Seattle and finish his degree out here. He did it. He came, he worked so hard, and he finished his degree and he got his GED. We were so proud of Al, but that's where we hit a roadblock. Because Al didn't know exactly what he wanted to do next. and we weren't exactly sure how to help him. And I cannot help but think how perfect Year Up would have been for Al. It would have been his next step. Al moved back to Minnesota, but I know had Year Up been around then, he would still be here and he would be working and doing a fantastic job like Marquez. What it takes is the community coming together in smart ways to really have an impact on a life. It's the teachers, the community colleges, the staff, and the businesses all coming together with a common focus to create opportunities that would not have existed otherwise. If we merge all of that energy and all those good intentions together, we can do anything.